I am reading John chapter 9, verses 1 to 41 in the New King James Version. Now, as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but the works of God should be revealed in him. Must the works of him who sent me? Well, it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he said these things, he spat on the ground and made clay with his saliva. And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which translated sent. So he went, and he washed, and he came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors of those who previously had seen him was blind said, Is not he who sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He is like him. He said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, How are your eyes opened? He answered and said, A man called Jesus made clay, anointed my eyes, and said to me, Go into the pool of Siloam and wash. So he went and washed, and I received sight. Then he said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought him who was formerly blind to the Pharisees. Now it was the Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes, and then the Pharisees also asked him how he had received the sight. He said to them, He put clay in my eyes, and I washed, and I see. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, This is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, How can a man who is a sinner do signs? And there was division among them. They said to the blind man again, What do you say about him because he opened up your eyes? He said, He is a prophet. But the Jews did not believe him concerning him, that he had been blind and received sight, until they called his parents, of whom he had received the sight. And they asked him, saying, Is this your son, who you say was born blind, and then he does now see? His parents answered and said, We know that this is our son, and we know that he was born blind. But by what means he now sees, we do not know. Or who opened his eyes, we do not know. He is of age, ask him. He will speak for himself. His parents said these things because they feared, for the Jews had already that if anyone confessed that he was Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, He is of age, ask him. So they called him again, the man who was blind, and said to them, Give God the glory. We know that this man is a sinner. He announced and said, Whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know. One thing I know is that though I was blind, now I see. He answered and said, sorry. And then they said to him again, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I already told you, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they riled him. You are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spoke to Moses. For as this fellow, we do not know where he came from. Then the man answered and said to them, Why, this is a marvelous thing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears them. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone has opened the eyes of those who were born blind. Oops, sorry. Then he answered them, and he said, Were you completely... Oh gosh, I'm going to back up a little bit, guys. Sorry about that. The man answered them and said, Why, this is a marvelous thing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners. But if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears them. Since the world began, it has been unheard of for anyone to open the eyes of who was born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him and said, You were completely born in sin, and you are teaching us. And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had cast him out. And when he found them, he said to them, do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him? And he said to them, you have both seen him, and he is talking with you. Then he said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may be blind. For some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words, and they said to him, are we blind also? Jesus said to them, if you were born blind and you have no sin, but now you say we see, therefore your sin remains. May God add his blessing to the word today. Thank you.